big event of the weekend, obviously, was the No Kings protest. Frankly, a pretty, I think it was a pretty impressive showing. I think the question with these protests is what do we learn from them? Do they translate into something? Look, the timing of this protest is not random. Okay. The timing of this protest comes basically in the middle of early voting here in Virginia. You've got the New Jersey elections. You have a bunch of off-year elections, right? These are, as my friend John Ellis said, it's a bunch of local elections that will have national significance. And he's not wrong. And they will have national significance. What happens in Virginia? How strong is the anti-Trump vote? Well, we now have an easy measurement to find out how strong, how powerful are anti-Trump feelings in Virginia. Are they powerful enough for somebody who's not qualified? I think has pretty much made it, from what his rhetorically said, is certainly, I think there are questions whether he's qualified to be Attorney General in Jay Jones. But if he wins, it's really a bigger statement on Trump, arguably, really, than anybody else. Not Miyares, not Jones, not anything. Because if this election is held sort of in isolations, Jones doesn't win. Miyares wins this thing, and he still probably wins this. I'd still probably rather be him. But we know in these statewide elections, the gubernatorial vote has a huge impact, and anything north of 5 points or more will bring at least one of the down ballots with her. Abigail Spanberger, the question is, does it bring two? I told you that Jason Miyares has already basically thrown the Republican nominee for governor under the bus, since they have divergent strategies on Abigail Spanberger's rhetoric on Jay Jones. Miyares has decided to embrace her rhetoric, even as Winston Sears has been trying to knock it down. But the point is that when you're doing a political protest like this, the true way to measure its impact, and whether it's having an impact beyond just being an event for the day, is whether it translates into political activity. Well, the next measurement of political activity is going to be the off-year elections that take place in 3 weeks. So the timing of this, in some ways, the smarter campaigns in New Jersey, in Virginia, in mayor's races, in California with the proposition, you have Pennsylvania with the Supreme Court races. So all of those cases, there was likely organizing. We know that there was organizing going on in those places where there was a direct tie to the election. So the point is, there's a couple ways to measure this, and that, to me, is an important way to measure. I've done with the help of a bunch of news article searching. I've tried to compile here some turnout estimates in various cities, so you can hear here in D.C., sort of the central organizing effort for the No Kings protest. The estimate is about over 200,000 of D.C. area residents. Look, this is a bigger turnout than they had in the first one. And again, the real, we'll know how successful this was based on how strong the Democratic performance is in Virginia. It has been, this Jay Jones thing has taken has had a huge impact on turnout efforts, on a lot of things in Virginia. Does this turn the page on that and help Democrats? That's a way to measure there. In San Francisco, one organizer estimate claimed 500,000. Look, it's a city of what I would call a protest culture, very comfortable out there protesting. So not surprising that this would be the city with the largest turnout. To me, and I've seen the polling, if you want to see anecdotal versus polling, and you saw this protest had a real focus on the proposition campaign, on the redistricting response to Texas there. So I think this tells you something. 500,000. Chicago had 100,000. Grant Park's Butler Field. It was a march that, not surprisingly, went past Trump Tower, as they wanted to do. New York City had an estimate of 100,000. The largest protests were somewhere in Times Square. That's where you saw the most. Portland, Oregon claimed about 40,000 protesters there. They were in a downtown area, carnival-like atmosphere, the inflatable costumes that we've seen at the detention centers, as the protesters that the administration keeps accusing of being part of this organized effort that they claim is Antifa. the inflatable costumes have become a hallmark of Portland. There's a reason results matter more than promises. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan has become America's largest injury law firm. For the last 35 years, they've recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. It includes cases where insurance companies offered next to nothing, short of shortchanging, seeing if they could get away with it. And Morgan & Morgan fought back, and they won millions. In Pennsylvania, one client was awarded $26 million. It was a staggering 40 times the amount that the insurance company originally offered. That offer, $650,000, whatever it took to sort of get away without paying. So with more than 1,000 lawyers across the country, Morgan & Morgan knows how to deliver for everyday people. So if you're injured, you're looking for a lawyer, check out forthepeople.com/ToddCast or dial pound law, pound 529 on your cell phone. And remember, all law firms are not the same. So give Morgan & Morgan a look. Their fee is free unless they win. So look, the big, what I was curious about and nervous about. I was curious about the Republican response and nervous about the administration's response. Was there anything that was going to happen in these demonstrations that was essentially going to be bait, if you will, or an attempt, or would the, was Stephen Miller and that wing of the Trump administration, were they essentially looking for a confrontation? Would they find a confrontation? It appears there was no major confrontations like that. So in the official level, it feels as if law enforcement essentially treated this protest the way we've treated protests for decades in this country, responsibly, with respect. Seems like protesters, I saw there was among the tweets I saw, the Austin Police Department, its official Twitter account put out a thank you to protesters and to law enforcement, saying everybody was well behaved and respectful, etc. But then we had the social media memes, right? The absurdity, and the one that has gotten the most is this head scratcher. And it goes to this larger issue that I've brought up a few times, which is why the Republican administration, why Donald Trump does not believe he's president for all the people. He really only believes he's president for his base. It explains his rhetoric. It explains his decision-making. It explains why he seems to not care what swing voters think at all. And he retweeted this meme that essentially had a AI personification of Trump flying a plane and dropping poop on America. Basically flying over major cities and dropping poop. Seriously? Really? I mean, it is, we're so used to sort of the childlike behavior of him at times, of this movement. There is always, one of the things that I've said in the past about him is that there's an arrested development quality, right? That phrase isn't just a great title of a great television show, or at least 3.5 seasons of a great television show. Sorry, Ron Howard. But it is an actual sort of, at times it's as if Donald Trump has been 13 his whole life, right? The mentality of a 13-year-old.